My name is Sula Evans. They call me Nama Sula or Sula Spirit. And I am a priestess and a daughter of light, I guess you'd say. Big queen with the Mardi Gras Indian Queens of the Nation, very proudly with them. And I am with the Mandingo Warriors, the spirit of Fayaya. This is the tribe that I am with now. Really happy and honored to be with Chief Fayaya. He's a real healer and been a great friend and a teacher to me. And I prayed long for at least 2 years before I became a big queen with Fayaya. My original tribe was the Guardians of the Flame, Big Queen, Maroon Queen, Sharice Harrison Nelson. I first was with the Guardians of the Flame, and years start getting mixed up for me. So I'm like, how was that 5 years ago? Was it 8 years ago? 7 years ago? I think it was about 7 years ago. If we're in 2018, yes, it was the year of 2012. In the year of 2012, really the year of 2011, I was given a dream, and I saw myself beating. I saw my hands moving. And it was in 2011 that I called Big Queen, Sharice Harrison Nelson. She lives around the corner from me. I live here in the Musicians Village. And I have a temple here called the Temple of Light, Ile de Coin Coin. And Coin Coin, Marie Therese Coin Coin is my grandmother. She was born in the 1700s in this shrine, and my whole life is livicated or dedicated to her and her memory and her work. And she was a high priestess, and that's how I see her anyway, as well as a farmer, as well as a medicine woman, an indigo farmer. And so in 2011, I became aware that in 2012, it was the year of the rise of the return of the Great Mother on the planet. Spiritually and cosmically, those of us that understand spiritual vibrations, we understand that 2012 brought in the power of the Great Mother on the planet. And I knew that in 2012, I needed to do something very dynamic and powerful for the mothers. So I was given the vision in 2011. I had been with my band, Zion Trinity, myself and my two sisters, Andai and Trisha. We were already doing medicine work with the Guardians of the Flame because they're the children. And because Big Queen Sharice has asked us to come several years before 2012, she was asking us to come to bless the children before they went out, to burn the ceremony of frankincense and myrrh, and bless each child as they came out. So we had already been doing that work collectively as Zion Trinity with the Guardians of the Flame. But I had never thought about masking myself. Not being a native of New Orleans, I'm from New Jersey. I had to make peace with being an outsider, and how do I step into this sacred tradition, this New Orleans tradition, without stepping on anyone's toes, or I just had to get comfortable within my own spirit about being a big queen and knowing that this is my birthright, regardless of where I was born. That based on the legacy of my mother's people here from Louisiana, that it was my birthright to step into this work. So I called Big Queen in 2011 after that dream, and I knew that as a daughter of Mami Wata, a daughter of Yemaya, a priestess of Mami Wata, and a priestess of Yemaya, I knew it was important to bring that particular image of the Great Mother on the planet. It was important to bring Yemaya because she had carried me through many things. She had dried many of my tears throughout the years. She had nurtured me and healed me and fed me with humanity's light. And I wanted to pay homage to her. As a daughter of Mami Wata and a priestess of Mami Wata, I wanted to bring the power of the number 7 on the planet. And the number 7 represents Mami Wata and also Yemaya. So it's also God's holy number. And it was important for me to bring that vibration on the planet. We needed a great deal of healing. Everyone was healing from Katrina and healing from childhood wounds. And so I wanted to pour that light on the earth. I wanted to bring that power on the earth. As we walk as Mardi Gras Indians, we're not just, showing some pretty suit. We pray that as we walk the streets, that our suits become liquid gold to be spilled and poured upon the people. this is my prayer anyway, that each person that comes in contact, or visual contact, or spiritual contact, or physical contact with the suit, that they receive the vibration and the healing that that suit represents. So in 2011, I began sewing. It was important for me to invite the power of my African ancestors as well as my Native American ancestors. So I have a great great grandmother. Her name is Grandma Gertrude Neal. And Mama Gertrude Neal is my grandmother's grandmother. And she was born on a reservation in near Cane River, Louisiana. And it was important for me to invite her spirit and the spirit of those Yoruba and West African and East African, wherever in Africa, ancestors, particularly the maternal ancestors, in to be with me. At that time, I had a couch, I had a futon, and I would sit on that couch and I would pat the side of the couch and say, okay, Mama Gert, come sit with me. My immediate grandmother, my mother's mother, was a seamstress. And so I knew she had the power of sewing, and I invited her in. My father's mother was a quilter and from North Carolina, and she had the power of sewing with her hand, so I invited her in. And then my grandmother, Gertrude Neal, lived on the Choctaw Reservation, was born on the Choctaw Reservation, so I made the assumption that she knew how to bead. She told me she did, so I believed her. So I invited her in. When these grandmothers became one with me, I felt like a large woman. I felt round. I felt grandmotherly. It was like, I felt big. In fact, I gained quite a lot of weight when in that first suit, because I was eating sugar and drinking coffee and eating pastries, trying to stay up. But in truth, they were fattening me for this work. I felt a fattening. I felt a full up, that they were filling me up to carry them. And I didn't understand it then. I just thought I was getting really fat. But then after a while, I was like, oh, I see what you're doing. Because these women that sewed were larger women. And so anyway, that power became really strong for me. And so I, as a priestess of Mami Wata, we know that Mami Wata is also a nurturer and a healer and a mother. She comes to bring fertility to women. She comes to fruit the womb of women. She comes to heal the wombs of women. Yemaya has the same thing. And then we also bring in the power of Olokun, Yemaya and Olokun. Yemaya represents the top of the water, and Olokun represents the depths of the ocean, where our ancestors threw themselves overboard, where our ancestors reside. So it was important for me to bring the element of the ancestors and the element of the healing waters of the mothers. And that was my suit for 2012. And I was really proud of that suit and really loved that suit. And in 2013, 2013, I moved forward from the Guardians of the Flame and felt that the real tribe for me, the true tribe for me, was the spirit of Fayaya. Ever since I moved here in 1996, I've always seen Fayaya, Chief Fayaya, and I've always loved him and always felt that I needed to be with him. I always felt that. And so I began to spiritually contact him in my own psyche. Like I would say, well, next time let me see Chief. I didn't know where Chief lived then. I would say, let me see Chief, let me see Chief, let me see Chief. And I would see him in town. I would see him throughout town. And I would, boldly go to him and say, hey Chief, how you doing? I really want to be in your tribe. I really would like to join y'all. And he would say, all right, Sula, all right. He would just ignore me. Frankly, he would walk right past me and just blow me off. And I'd see him again. He'd do the same thing. And I would be like, Chief, I really want to be in your tribe. All right, Sue. I'm going to holler at you. Talk to you soon. And he would never, it's like he didn't hear what I had to say. But I just knew he was my chief. I knew that. So 2013, I sat out. I didn't mask. 2014, I was in my backyard, and I had a spiritual client that day. I was at the shrine. This day was very, very vivid because for some reason it was a very bright day. It was like, I don't know, it was a special sun for me. It was a brighter day than usual. So I'd finished my work at the shrine. I'd seen a client and did some spiritual work that day with the client. And I still have my white clothing on, which is what I wear when I do my priestess. I didn't know where the house was exactly, but I knew that he had the only 2-story house on Florida Avenue. So I drove down Florida Avenue which was close to my house. I just got on Florida Avenue and drove down Florida Avenue. And when I drove down Florida Avenue, I saw this gray two-story house and decided to just be bold about it and went and rang his doorbell. Well, now, uh, 2 years before, I had put out a book and CD project. I'd written and collaborated with a Yoruba translator to create a book and CD project called Spirit of the Orisha. And I know that Chief loves African music because his whole tribe and whole vibration is honoring Africa. And that's why it was important for me to be with Chief, because I've been traveling throughout Africa since I was in my early 20s. I'm 52 today, and decided that my home and my heart is Africa. And I've always known that since I first traveled there. So I needed to be with a chief that also honored Africa. And that was also my attraction to Queen, big Queen, Maroon Queen, Cherise Harrison Nelson, because she honored Ghana and Africa, and I appreciated that. So big respect to Big Queen, Maroon Queen, Cherise Harrison Nelson. But I knew that Big Chief, Fayaya was my chief. So anyway, that day, I took the Spirit of the Orisha book and CD project and decided that I was just going to boldly go to his house. I rang his doorbell, had the book and CD project in my hand. When I went to his house, I rang the doorbell, and he said, he looked at, he had a screen door, and he said, oh, he opened the door. He said, oh, Sue, hey, what brings you around here, Sue? And I said, oh, I came to bring you my book and CD project, Spirit of the Orisha. So he was like, oh, that's great. I said, I know you don't have it yet. So when he opened the door, he let me in. He said, well, come on in. So when he let me in, he let me into the front room. And when he let me into the front room, I just asked the Spirit to come over me and give me courage. And I said, well, Chief, I came to bring you the book and CD, but I'm also here to ask you something else. And these are the words that came out of my mouth. Which I know was not of me, because I probably wouldn't have said it this way. But this is how they had me express it. The Spirit, Holy Spirit, ancestors, spirit guides. I said to him, look, Chief, I've asked you several times about, being in your tribe, and I really want to be in your tribe. I'm a big queen with the queens of the nation, and I'm a queen out here without a king. I need you to cover me. Can you cover me? And he looked kind of strangely at me. I think he was very shocked because I was very bold with it. I said, look, I need to know if you can cover me. There are other chiefs that have asked me to join them, and I need to know if I can be with you or not, so I can, begin to sow or not sow. And instead of answering me, he just looked at me and kind of went, all right, Sue, well, look, this year the color's going to be pink, and here goes some beads, and here goes some feathers. And that was his yes. And I've been with him ever since. I love him. He's a very honorable man. And I sewed my little heart out that year because it was really a prayer answered to join him. And so I was a sewing little mama. And I sewed my first suit with Fayaya and brought out the Orisha Oshun and Bayani. And this suit is probably my favorite suit so far. Because I poured my whole self into it. Everything. I mean, even thinking about it, I feel emotional because it really pulled something out of me that I needed. It made me call on the spirit of wealth and power, feminine power. I had to go very deep to make that suit. And I learned about the sister of Oshun. Oshun is the mother of the river, a very important deity for Louisiana because there's water all around, there's sweet water, not salty water. And so the spirit of Oshun was very important. She represents wealth, feminine power, balance. She's also a powerful market woman. She represents the marketplace and being powerful in business. And I was stepping out into my own business at that time. And so I needed to call upon the spirit of wealth and the spirit of courage and trust. I needed to be able to trust that I was going to be carried in this new line of work, and this stepping fully into my priestly work, stepping fully into my work as an artist and a painter and an author and a musician. I needed to know that I was going to be carried and not worry about money. So that's my story of how I became a big queen with Chief Fayaya. And I have to say, in out of all the chiefs. I love all the chiefs. I bow to all the chiefs and big queens. I have so much big respect for this because not everybody can do this. This is a calling exactly like being a priest. If it was meant for everyone to be a priest, everybody would be a priest. If it was meant for everyone to be an Indian, everybody would be an Indian. It's a deep calling from your ancestors. It's a deep calling from a place of healing. And you're either made for it or you're not. You're either meant to sow or you are not. It's not something you can fake because it takes too much time. I mean, it's all of your life. Once you pick that needle up and say, I'm going to start sewing, your head doesn't come up from that canvas until Mardi Gras morning. You think of nothing else. I know how I am. I don't know about anyone else, but for me, I become obsessed with it. I don't think of anything but the beads. And I'm sure every Indian has the exact same story. Because once you see, okay, I finished her hand. Oh, all right, I'm starting on her crown. Oh, I got her face almost finished. Then you can't stop. You're just hungry. You just want to keep sewing and sewing. Then the ancestors take over you. Then you become possessed. For me, I get this bubble around me where I don't see anything but this. Because you have to go into the cave to come out with the masterpiece. So that's my story. So this particular suit, this is my first suit I ever beaded. This is the first time I've ever beaded in my life. I've always had a little painting skill, but I never was a beader. It was never my craft. So again, I told you I had to call on every grandmother known in my lineage to come forward, but particularly Grandma Gert and the Native American and African ancestors that reside with me, whose names I do not know, but who I know are with me. So this is a suit dedicated to Yemaya, Mami Wata. Yemaya is the Yoruba name of the mother of the salt water of the ocean. Mami Wata is the name of the mother of the ocean in more Togo, Benin, Ghana. They recognize the name Mami Wata. In the Yoruba tradition in Nigeria, Yemaya is specifically a Nigerian name for the mother of the salt water, but Mami Wata is more of a generic name for the mother of the water across West Africa. Mami Wata's colors are blue and white, so this is the reason for the blue and white. But as a priest that was initiated in Ghana, I'm an Ewe priest. My great-grandmother, Marie Therese Coin, they've traced her name linguistically back to the Ewe people. So I was trained in Ghana, and I'm a Ewe Akan priest. In the Akan priesthood, when they go into battle or when they go onto the street, they create medicine bags all over their suits. They have medicine bags, pouches. If you see any chief or big or queen mother in the Ghanaian tradition, usually when they come out for the Gahoomo festival or different festivals that they always have these small bags or medicine pouches on them. They may wear one like this, or they may have a suit with them all over, or they may have a belt. Well, this entire round here has medicine bags, and these are notes to my ancestors of protection. I had never been on the street for Mardi Gras before, and of course, people say, oh, it's dangerous, blah, blah, blah. I mean, in reality, we are dealing with a street element that could bring danger in crowds. So I said, protect me on these streets. Let everyone that comes near me receive a healing. So these are notes for healing and protection to my ancestors. There's also Spanish moss, which is the traditional a plant indigenous to Louisiana. And that also, when you put Spanish moss in medicine bags, it also makes a weave. It weaves a wall between you and negative energy. So these are medicine bags. The Mami Wata herself is coming out of water. Yemaya is coming out of the water, rising up. She is the phoenix that is rising out of the water, out of the ashes, out of trouble, out of pain, all those things that we deal with in our childhood, in our life. She is rising from all of that. These bands represent each Orisha. each Orisha has specific colors. Each spirit has particular colors. So I am representing the Yoruba Orisha here by representing the bead colors. Ilegua, Ogun, Obatala, Shango, Babaluaye, Yemaya, Oya, Oshun, Oba. They're all represented here. These white marks are my war scars or uh, my tribal markings. 2 years before I made this suit, I had breast cancer surgery and had my left breast removed. These I put on the breast are these are symbols, small symbols that are an ankh. An ankh is from Egypt, and the ankh represents life. And so it was important to give my breast life again. I knew that I had one breast and the other breast was reconstructed. But to me, I started saying, like, I have like bionic titties now. Like, they're power titties. You know what I mean? So I had to affirm myself through this surgery and find ways to be life affirming for myself and with myself. And so I said, this illness will never come upon me again. And I seal my breast up with a symbol of life and long life. Again, tribal markings. This is representing the power of the yoni, the power of the uh, feminine powerhouse, which is our vagina and our place, our life-giving source, our life-giving place. So it was important as a birth doula. I'm also a birth doula, and it was important that I bring forth the power of the birth and the opening for the birth to bring forth new life. These represent the four directions. This is her crown, and because I was raised as a Christian, I put the symbol of Christ, Obatala, on my head. Obatala and Christ have the similar vibration of integrity, high thoughts, spiritual thoughts, loving actions. Having a Christ consciousness is very similar or almost identical to having Obatala on your crown, and that is a spirit of peace, pure thoughts, integrity, and light. So her crown needed to be white. And the feather in her hat is connecting me to the Indians again. This symbol over her head is the symbol of Ghana. And Ghana, this is a symbol, this symbol is Jinyame, which is Gye, Nyame, Nyame. Nyame is a name for God in the Ghanaian tradition. Jin or Ji means fear nothing or fear not, fear nothing but God. Jin Nyame means fear nothing but God, fear nothing in life. And so because this is my courage suit, and this really is me rising out of my own fear, pain, anxiety, whatever I was given, or whatever this coat I put on in life, this suit helped me to shake off the negative and rise like the phoenix bird, to be well, to be healed, and to call absolute healing into myself and into everyone around me. Anyone that came in contact with this suit, I prayed that they be healed. And if anybody was sick or was dealing with illness, if they saw this suit, may they be healed by it. Ashe, Yemaya, Mami Wata. This was my suit, the first suit from 2012. Ashe. So this is my masterpiece, in my opinion. I love this. This is my favorite suit so far. I love them all, but I love them all for different reasons. This suit was the suit I spoke about because this is the one I said was my first suit with Fayaya. I knew I had to come with something very dynamic when I came for the first time out with Fayaya, because I was a new queen being added to his tribe. He had always had Big Queen Kim and also Queen Risa. And it had really just been them for so many years. And so I knew I had to come strong, as another queen in his tribe. This is a suit livicated and dedicated to the spirit of Oshun, the mother of the river. All of my suits will have some spiritual meaning or some goddess figure that I'm bringing forward, because I must bring the power of the mother on the street. part of the reason why we are suffering on the planet is because we have forgotten to say the name of the Great Mother. We have forgotten the power of the Great Mother. We have forgotten to give the Great Mother honor, and that is why we have all these things that's happening on the planet now. And so I sow a seed of love through the power of the Mother in my suits. So Oshun's colors are yellow, and there's also pink. There's people use pink sometimes for Oshun as well, but yellow is her predominant color. Yellows, golds, yellow and white, yellow and gold. And so this is her crown, and this is the crown of Bayani. Soon I'm going to show you the original picture that I got this idea from. I was watching some pictures from the Oshun festival that happened in Nigeria this year. That particular year I did the suit, 2014, I guess it was. And yeah, it was. And someone had gone to the Oshun festival in Nigeria, and I saw this woman with this beaded crown on, and she had her head down, and she had like these dreadlocks hanging down. And I said, I love this crown. What is this? I thought it was a crown to Oshun because naturally they were at the Oshun festival. So I said, oh my God, this crown to Oshun is beautiful. So I called my godfather at the time in Miami, and I showed him the picture. I said, oh, this is what I want to bead this year. This is the crown to Oshun. He said, no, it's actually the crown to Bayani, Oshun's sister. So I became educated. I had to educate myself on who is Bayani now. If I want to make your crown, let me know who you are. Bayani is the sister of Oshun, and she is the bringer of wealth and fortune. The same year I was stepping into my own business, stepping out on my own after being in business for a long time with another sister. I decided, and based on a spiritual message, that it was time for me to step fully into my priesthood and to completely claim the throne and to create this, really not create because it was already here, but to really build this temple of light. And so I knew I had a lot of fears around wealth and around being successful, and if I'm not in this business, am I going to be successful in my life? How do I call on that power to be a powerful businesswoman? How do I claim all of my tools in life? So this is Oshun. She's in the sweet water. She's in the river. She's a mermaid. This is her pot of power, if you will. This is her staff, her ancestor staff. This is the serpent, which we know is about wisdom. It's not a negative thing, as some Christian traditions may make us believe that the serpent is something negative. The serpent is a symbol of power, and particularly feminine power in this case. This is also her horsetail, which is, that's a horsetail there. This is her horsetail, which she uses to ward off negative. And so she's coming out of the water. Again, she's coming with power too. Oshun is beautiful. She comes from sweet water, and she's a very sweet mother. She represents honey and balance and feminine power and business and beauty. She represents feminine beauty and really tapping into our feminine self, our feminine divine essence. So at that time, I wanted to bring out my deeply feminine self as well. I was really crowning and praying for different things in my life at that time, and I really was praying for this divine feminine power to rise up. Oshun's number is 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are shells I got from Sweetwater for her. Oshun is sweet, but she also carries a sword. You don't want to mess with her. Just like Sweetwater is sweet and can be very, very gentle. A river can also kill a whole village too, if it decided to rise or get too full. So water can be sweet and water can be torrential. The same with us as women. So we have to decide how we're going to be. And sometimes we have to call up that torrential side to fight for us. So she's a warrior as well as a loving mother. But she knows how to pull out the sword to defend her family. And that's what the sword is about. So she's a divine mermaid. And so this is my apron, and this is the crown. This is the crown of Bayani. These are dreadlocks, and in ancient African tradition, in ancient Africa, the cowrie shell has always been a symbol of money. And so there was a time when, let's say, a woman got married, a man would have to come and bring her father 5,000 or more cowrie shells because that was currency. And so this is all wealth, 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 cowrie shells, wealth. Everything about this is wealth, calling wealth from the four directions of the earth. So she is calling upon wealth, prosperity, power, and all things that are truly divinely feminine. So this is the power of Oshun and Beyani. So this is my beauty. I love this suit as well. I love them all for different reasons. But this is Nana Buruku. Nana Buruku is the grandmother of the swamp. Nana Buruku, this particular suit has taught me so many things. All the suits have taught me something, but this particular suit, it was important for me to bring this suit out. This is the suit that I brought out this year, 2018. I started sewing this in 2017, and at that time, I was told to take my mom in. My mother was living in Florida, and my mother has had a stroke, and she's now wheelchair bound, and she has dementia, Alzheimer's. And I knew that in 2017, I had to prepare myself to take this beautiful crone mother into my home. And I needed to pray for patience, and I needed to ask the grandmother to show me how to care for the crone mother. Show me how to honor her and respect her and be patient and loving and kind and cool. So the grandmother, Nana Buruku, began to come to me, as well as my own grandmothers, my grandmothers themselves. And I began to talk to my mother's mother, who was an ancestor. And I kept saying, show me how to take care of your daughter. I don't want to fail in this assignment. I want to do very well in this assignment. And so I began to really call on the spirit of Nana Buruku. And I love Nana Buruku very much. And there's a Yoruba song, and it goes, Bopele akama kamado, Bopele akama kamado, Nana Buruku, Bopele akama kamado, awe awe, and it goes on from there. That song I sang a lot in sewing this suit because I needed the patience, and I needed to have the grandmother show me the way, how to do this royal job well. But also, I had to embody the grandmother. So the day I put this suit on, Mardi Gras Day, I could hardly walk. It was the weirdest thing. I was moving fine. I was running around, we're getting everything together. Wow, wow, wow. I put this on, and I was like this, whoa. I immediately my body became old. And at first I was like, what's going on with my back? And I said to a friend of mine, my back is hurting. I don't know why my back is hurting. Like, I don't even have back pain. I don't have this normally. Immediately, bloop, bloop, I was like, Mardi Gras Day, I was moving like this because I was so afraid my back was going to go out. I felt like a grandmother. So my prayer for this suit was that the spirit of Nana Buruku come to me and show me how to live in the swamp, how to, be secluded. Because in taking this job on to care for my mother, it had me be inside a lot more. So I've had to become homebound. So show me how to go within and find the power and the strength. So this was a picture I saw of Nana Buruku in the swamp area. Nana Buruku is also very important to our ancestors because it's in the swamp area that our ancestors hid and ran away from the slave catchers. And it is here that they met the native tribes. And it is here where I'm sure the grandmothers and grandfathers had a way of just bringing the native and the Africans together to be protected. And so she's a very important grandmother to Louisiana. She's a pure African, and because she's a mystery mother, her face is covered. So I covered my crown was covered with Spanish moss, and it was important to cover her face with Spanish moss. This is her whip. that she uses, not to whip and kill, but to protect. And this is her symbol of power. She's in the swamp, so it's dark water, swampy water. And she is the grandmother that brings fertility to women. She's traditionally a grandmother. Nana Buruku is said to not have her own children, but to instead be the grandmother that is filled with power in the wooded areas, in the swamp areas, mixing medicine for the world and bringing fertility to women. But Nana Buruku traditionally did not have children. So she's a powerful mother of fertility. She's also a powerful mother of ancestral strength. And because she represents the grandmother, I needed to ask her guidance so that she could show me how to care for my mother. So my prayer for this suit was that the spirit of Nana Buruku come to me and show me how to live in the swamp, how to, you know, be secluded, because in taking this job on to care for my mother, it had me be inside a lot more. So I've had to become homebound. So show me how to go within and find the power and the strength. So this was a picture I saw of Nana Buruku in the swamp area. Nana Buruku is also very important to our ancestors because it's in the swamp area that our ancestors hid and ran away from the slave catchers. And it is here that they met the native tribes. And it is here where I'm sure the grandmothers and grandfathers had a way of just bringing the native and the Africans together to be protected. And so she's a very important grandmother to Louisiana. She's a pure African, and because she's a mystery mother, her face is covered. So I covered my crown was covered with Spanish moss, and it was important to cover her face with Spanish moss. This is her whip that she uses, not to whip and kill, but to protect. And this is her symbol of power. She's in the swamp, so it's dark water, swampy water. And she is the grandmother that brings fertility to women. She's traditionally a grandmother. Nana Buruku is said to not have her own children, but to instead be the grandmother that is filled with power in the wooded areas, in the swamp areas, mixing medicine for the world and bringing fertility to women. But Nana Buruku traditionally did not have children. So she's a powerful mother of fertility. She's also a powerful mother of ancestral strength. And because she represents the grandmother, I needed to ask her guidance so that she could show me how to care for my mother. And I have to tell you, she's given me patience beyond what I thought I could ever have. I'm not perfect at any job, but I have to say she has really taught me well about being patient and slowing down and taking time with my mother, because I understand that this is precious time. And just like our grandmothers and grandfathers come to lead us in the African and Native traditions, it's very precious time with my mother now. And I'm very clear that this is my holy assignment right now. I'm not supposed to be running around the world and going to and fro. I'm supposed to be seated right here in this crone wisdom, learning from her, so that I can take this wisdom and hopefully go into the world and be a better person. And so that is what Nana Buruku came to teach me. And I had to pray for the patience to care for this beautiful queen that's in front of me now. So Ashe to Nana Buruku, because she gave me what I needed. And I now sit very patiently every day. And when sometimes I wheel her out here and I say, come on, Ma, let's make art. Come on, let's paint today. Let's be today. And she doesn't really say much. She's quiet, but she doesn't have to. We're sisters. It's all. I want to say another thing that she taught me. She taught me that on this great cosmic wheel of life, in truth, she's not really my mother. She's my sister. She's my sister. She's my mother. Yes, she's manifested as my mother in this reality. But in the cosmic wheel of life, she's my sister, and I must care for my sister. And so it takes that mother-daughter thing, it takes it to another place. And she told me that one day. She said, you're caring for your sister. And so now I call my mother sister. I say, come on, sister. Come on, little sister. What are we going to do today, little sister? Come on, big sister. What are we going to do today? I do that because she told me that that's the way you're going to not get caught up in the mama thing. Oh, mama did this, and mama said, all that's stupid. don't even matter. It's my sister. Just like I would forgive my sister and be patient with my sister that I'm doing work with, or you or any other sister. Well, she's also my sister. And I have to see it that way. And that's how I balance this thing called life. So, I say.